The UI is workable, but it is literal trash. There is no reason why it should work this way.
What?
No. He's got a point.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, it's now been just over a week since Asmongold started playing Monster Hunter for the first time, beginning with Monster Hunter World. And while I've been enjoying watching his journey personally, as I do with most people playing the game for the first time, what I found interesting is just the amount of noise in the community about this, both in positive and negative ways, and I wanted to just have a moment to just step back and talk about all this, some of the sentiments that I've seen, and then after that we'll watch him finish his journey in base Monster Hunter World, as that is of course a major milestone, and then we'll of course talk about his most recent hunt too. Of course, supplying my knowledge and understanding with thousands of hours of Monster Hunter under my belt at this point, but also as someone who has literal videos that I can rewatch to remember what my own first experiences in Monster Hunter were like. And so I definitely remember what it is to be new to this series, but also starting with this specific game as well. Starting off then, I've seen a hell of a lot of this sentiment, which is just, why are people making such a big fuss about this guy playing the game? Why does anyone care? And why should I care? And why do I hear about it so often? And well, the answer here is twofold. This either matters to you or it doesn't, for a number of reasons. First, he's a big streamer. That is undeniable. The Monster Hunter streams that he's done have been in front of an audience consistently above 20,000 people live, which means over 20,000 eyes on Monster Hunter World that might not be otherwise. And of course, a good portion of those people are people who enjoy the game and are watching them for this reason, but there are also a bunch of people who have never experienced Monster Hunter World before that might not be experiencing it otherwise without this, and a good portion of those people have never experienced Monster Hunter in the first place. So this is just quite simply expanding their horizons and introducing the series to people who have never paid it any mind in the past. And of course, it's silly when I see people say that the current world peak player numbers are because of Asmongold playing it, but it is undeniable that at least a couple of thousand are probably directly a result of his streams. Among those will be quite a few new players as well, which matters a hell of a lot. People with no prior Monster Hunter experience before this, especially as he has been generally positive and is clearly enjoying himself on the whole. In other words, no matter the actual number, him doing what he is doing is getting new people to play the series. And more people enjoying Monster Hunter means more resources for future Monster Hunter games and just a happier community as a whole. So it's a good thing pretty much in every situation possible, and you should probably care at least a little bit for that reason. But beyond that, realistically, you either don't like his content, and so you don't want to see his experience, so it matters less to you and you might be annoyed by the people talking about it, or you're a prior fan of his already and are really enjoying this, or third option, you're just someone who just is somewhat aware of who he is before, but really enjoy Monster Hunter in general, and so this has been interesting for you to watch in that sense. And that's a big one for me because I just love watching the new player experience of this series in general. And while his chat is absolutely massive, he's mostly just trying to learn on his own and ignoring a lot of what they say because he doesn't get the way that they're trying to say it, which is enjoyable to watch in itself, really, getting to see someone learn on their own. That said, there's one topic that I want to touch on specifically because the community has of course responded to a lot of his opinions, as a lot of people are paying attention to this at this stage, and the biggest thing that's come up is Asmongold's feelings about the forge and upgrade UI at the smithy. When he first forged his second great sword, he hadn't realized that he had to select it separately in the upgrade menu. To put it simply, he thought he was selecting weapon type, as in great sword, not selecting specific singular weapon to upgrade, which given how the upgrade menu looks in Monster Hunter World, I can understand that. But then his chat started calling him an idiot, which irritated him of course, and so he said, the UI is trash, it's not my fault, I'm not dumb, the game is just actively bad in this aspect. Of course, with a few more colorful words than that, but you get the idea. I think I've summed up his feelings well, and I've seen a whole lot of people coming out and getting really angry at this, saying that World's UI is great, insulting any part of the game is bad, and even just people saying it's fine, sure, it's serviceable, but I actually think that he is entirely right. It is bad, and it's because of one specific point that he makes that is really correct. The people saying the UI is fine are people who have played the game. They are people who probably played other Monster Hunter games, people who might have even looked up about things online on the internet for help or advice, and he is just trying to play the game and interpret it through the game's own menus and directions. This is, in essence, the raw new player experience. Sure, the game will tell you all the things that you need to know very early on, but it throws everything at you in the span of about 2 minutes. You cannot be expected to remember it all forever. So when it comes up again, it sort of doesn't really trigger that memory in the brain. If the UI is then unintuitive for someone who doesn't have prior or outside knowledge from what is in the game, then that UI is simply not good enough. It may be serviceable once you understand it, and that's fine, which is why, Monster Hunter is still as popular as it is. But he's not wrong to say that an unintuitive UI for new players is bad by any means, because the job of UI is to make things easy for the player, to make things understandable for the player, to translate information from the game's code essentially into an actual understandable way for someone who doesn't understand what coding is in the first place. And I'd say that UI is probably the aspect of Monster Hunter with the most issues over every generation, not even just now, not from before, just it's always been an uphill battle for it. And that's what I've experienced when I've played the games myself. With that said though, I think we should finish the section off with this one clip from Asmon's most recent stream.
People are like, oh, well, he's just gonna quit whenever it gets hard. It's like, maybe. I mean, if I'm not having fun anymore, yeah, I just stop playing. It's just a game. It's not really a big deal, right? I mean, it's just for fun.
All of this to say, really, it doesn't need to matter to you on a personal level that Asmongold is playing Monster Hunter, but it is an undeniable fact that objectively, it does matter that he is playing it. It matters what he thinks because he has a sizable audience, including a lot of people who've never given Monster Hunter a chance before because they think it looks too clunky without feeling it for themselves. And those people seeing him saying, this is less clunky than I thought it would be, I expected to not like this, but it's actually really good, or other things along those lines, will simply add to the player base, especially considering it has now been 6 years since release. There are probably people who weren't even big enough on gaming in general or just RPGs when it first came out to even know what the game was. He brings more attention to the game by playing it, and by enjoying it, that attention trends in a positive direction. For a lot of us, it's just fun to watch a new player enter the series and relive that experience through it, and in the end, it's just a game. It exists to create enjoyment, and if him playing it creates enjoyment for those watching or causes people to start playing the series and enjoy it there, that's simply a good thing. And you know what? It's a good thing on its own if this is just someone who is enjoying the game himself. That's enough of all that though. I just thought that was a conversation that we probably should have. So for those of you who are more interested in an update on how his journey is progressing, let's dive into a real milestone here, his first proper spectacle monster, his first final boss, the final quest of base Monster Hunter World, Xeno'jiiva. So at this point, he's basically just started, and he's not had much to say about it. I think he's just sort of taking it all in. Like, it almost feels like he's in shock at what he's looking at because it's just so different from everything up until this point. And I can understand that. He's going for the tail. He wants to chop off the tail. He likes chopping off tails because it's more loot. It's as simple as that. Sure, there's the safety aspect too, but his brain wants more loot and he knows there's loot in them tails. Ooh, just barely dodges the hitbox of that positionally right there by going under him at the right angle.
Oh, I thought he was gonna swipe with it.
That is a reasonable thing to believe, and I would not change your mind about monsters doing that in the future. Okay, this is actually really nice. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, the first hit, the second hit put him in this perfect position for the head that came around in front of the Great Sword right here. He actually got this nice hit on the claw. The second hit didn't hit anything, but put him in perfect position to potentially hit a true charge on the face. But the initial hit flinched him up into the sky, which made him miss the follow-up true charge. In other words, he basically hit 19 damage to miss like 700 probably, but it's not his fault. There's no way that you can really be aware without like external tools or something like that you're actually that close to flinching a monster by doing that little damage to its head in that moment, but it's really unfortunate that it lined up that way. One other thing of note is his armor set has actually gotten a hell of a lot better since what it was the last time that we saw him play. You'll notice there that he's got Agitator going, which is obviously good just as a skill once Clutch Claw is involved, and he does have Clutch Claw. He has Iceborne going. That was a really nice hit actually. Right here, he got it right on the tail after the charge. That lined up really almost coincidentally for him, but hey, I mean, you gotta accept what you can get, am I right? Back in the note of the skills there, you saw he has Agitator, which obviously is good with Clutch Claw, but on top of that, it's a more obvious notifier for when monsters are enraged for him, which is nice too. He's learned about the red eye on the minimap, and he's starting to get a bit of an understanding of what a monster being enraged is, the fact that its damage can go up, its moveset can expand, its moves will actually change the way it combos, and of course they get faster too. But of course, it's a bit of a harder thing to have a look at the minimap than it is to just have a literal notifier on the side of your screen saying, the monster's enraged, the monster's not enraged, the monster's enraged, the monster's not enraged anymore. I don't know what else to say. Agitator's helpful for new players. That's what I'm trying to get across here. But on top of that, his set is actually getting really good as far as just generally useful skills. He's got 6 attack boost, which is of course pretty awesome at this stage. Attack boost is a great skill, especially once you get it to level 4 and above, where it starts getting a percentage bonus added into. It is the prime attack skill, especially early in the game. So you want to have that, and the fact that he has it at this point means he's farmed out some good gear, which you can obviously see him wearing too. He's got full health boost as well, which is of course really good to be able to have because it just makes you able to survive more. Well, okay, this true charge could work out well, or Xeno's just gonna back up and snipe him. Oh, that was a good dodge. Actually, I want to have a quick slowdown on this. Yeah, he iframed that. That wasn't a positional dodge. He iframed the first couple frames of that beam to positionally dodge it afterwards. That was actually pretty effective, whether he realized it was that close or not.
That was a close one.
Oh, never mind. He knew it was a close one. Oh, here comes Big Red Chest. I love Xeno's big red chest. It just, like, even outside of gameplay mechanics, it just looks so fucking pretty. The way that you can see inside of its skin, you can see his rib cage. It's just, it's so cool in a way that Monster Hunter has never been able to represent before. Oh, here comes the Clutch Claw. He's going for the weaken, the Tenderize on the face. It's really good. I don't think it counted. You didn't finish the attack, and I don't think it counts unless you finish it. You didn't get the pop-up on the side of the screen. So unfortunately, he did get a bit of damage there, just a little bit, but unfortunately that did not actually do the weaken, but that roar was the signification of the fact that he's moving on to phase 2 of the fight. He has successfully gotten through phase 1 in a relatively short amount of time. His damage is good. I talked about the fact that he has all that attack boost, which is really helping him a lot. He's now using, what is it? Rocket-powered Great Sword?
Rocket-powered Great Sword!
Which is, of course, an extremely meta weapon for the endgame of base Monster Hunter World. And the fact that he even has it for Xeno'jiiva is maybe a little bit earlier than he should have it, because obviously that wasn't there, but it's really good. There goes the tail. Excellent job. Tail's really good. It actually makes a lot of his attacks easier to deal with too. Okay, maybe not a lot, but the attacks behind him, because he does have some larger tail sweeps. His tail is freaking massive, so anytime you wind up behind him, that tail sweep can become really difficult to deal with. Here he's quite low, but he's out of range. Yep, okay. So he gets the heal off. He does have Dragon debuff on him, but it's not a problem. Dragon status, Dragon Blight, it's just not going to affect him really right now. He's just using the raw weapon. He's just bashing the face. He doesn't really care. Oh, okay. Here comes some fun stuff. We're in the air. And that's one of those things about Greatsword that you'll notice right there. The Xeno'jiiva was just in the air the entire time, and Asmon did no damage. Partially because he doesn't seem to use the slinger a whole lot. Obviously, it doesn't become the most important thing 90% of the time when you're using Greatsword, but he's not using the slinger on things that he can't hit with the Greatsword, and that's obviously when it's the absolute best time to use it. On top of that, he could also break out things like flash pods. Xeno can be flashed at least a little bit, and of course, you could also just Clutch Claw on. Those are a few different options that he could have for getting the monster in the air with the Greatsword that he's not taking advantage of because he doesn't really know them yet. At least he doesn't know them to the extent that they're drilled into his head quite yet. Oh, he must have been on the very edge of that animation to not get hit by that. I didn't even realize the secondary waves of it. Okay, that one did him. Full on the ground. This is one of the worst positions that you can be in all of Monster Hunter right here. This down, any attack that puts you in this is like this a signifier of death, because this is the only way that you can be knocked down in Monster Hunter other than something like stun, I guess, which is a lot more specific, but you're actually on the floor. You cannot control your character. There is no way to avoid being in this position once you're there, and you don't have iframes, because otherwise when you get knocked down, you have iframes until you get up. That is, however, another thing that I do want to talk about with Asmongold's gameplay that I've not seen him learn about yet is the fact that you have these extra iframes when you're on the floor, and the fact that a lot of times attacks will be timed around that concept, and a lot of times if you get hit by an attack, what you're actually expected to do is just sort of fly on the ground for a while instead of instantly getting up. A lot of the time, players will just instantly get up. For me, it took me like months, if not even maybe a year, before I got it properly drilled into my head not to hold the movement stick constantly, because that's how I generally play video games. Because once you're in an animation, you're still holding pointing the stick forward because you're pointing it at the direction of the thing that you want to hit. But that translates to when I want to move as well. If I want to get up and I want to move instantly, I'll be holding that button because I don't want to be where I am right now. But in Monster Hunter, you shouldn't do that. You should be a lot more careful about how and when you press your movement buttons. They affect attacks for a lot of weapons in ways that you might want sometimes, but might not others, and it's important to be aware of that distinction. But more importantly, the patience to stay on the ground for a moment after you've been hit can often save you from getting hit a second time in a row by the same combo or just a quick attack. Oh, and I think this is one of my favorite Xeno'jiiva attacks here that shows just how, like, fresh out of the egg he is, because he traps himself. He freaking melts the ground so hard that he accidentally melts what's under him and falls into it. He sinks into basically the molten floor that he created with his own pure-ass bioenergy beam, and that is so freaking cool that he does that. And I love that because it doesn't help him. It's not a threatening thing that he traps himself. It's just an accurate representation of what a monster would be like when it has no concept of its actual powers. Alright, couple good hits on the claw here, but it moves out of the way. What does this true charge do? Oh my god! Oh, okay, so that did negative crit, so that is a thing to be aware of. But here we go, he's attacking this claw, right? He does the second charge here. He does does he do the perfect charge on it? He does the perfectly released charge on that great sword hit for the true charge. He manages to hit the freaking the little pre-charge, the one that boosts the damage on the leg as it's turning, which is a damage booster in itself. But then this claw is still moving, it's still in motion. The great sword hits the ground. But cool thing about Greatsword that he completely benefits from here without maybe even understanding it is that it has extra frames of hit detection after it hits the ground because of the sort of reverberation of the sword. It's an embodiment of that and the fact that the ground is sort of kicking up everything around it. So what it does is it hits the arm as it's moving through the already Greatsword in the ground animation, and it looks like it shouldn't hit, but it does, and it's this beautiful thing that Greatsword can do that a lot of people don't even realize that I think is really cool to point out and talk about there. It did get a negative crit, so it was only about 200 damage, but it's still an awesome thing to have happen. Here we have a nice proper clutch claw flinch from Xeno there, I believe, and a nice true charge on the left claw this time. Swipe in from the right side. Does not get under that belly this time. I'm not sure if he knows he can dodge that by getting under the belly, but he's just trying to get out of it entirely. And in the effort to get out from under the monster entirely, I think that's what got him hit there, because he was hit by the leg on the way out, whereas if he'd stayed in the middle track, he wouldn't have been hit by that. All right, here we go. Now he's using the clutch claw to hit a monster in the air. That's what I wanted to see earlier. Good job. Good adapting and learning and understanding what you can do when your greatsword just won't be able to hit it.
I know I need to sharpen. I fucking know that.
Yep, his chat is once again just absolutely just ravenous at the idea of somebody not sharpening constantly all the time. And yeah, he's down to yellow on a weapon that can reach white, so he's gone quite far down. But I don't think he's quite grasped the concept of how important it is in some situations. That's not a problem. He's a new player. It's something that he'll learn. He sees the number differences. He will adjust to it. But by the time he noticed it, he's been in an active fight for too long to be able to sharpen safely. So he was waiting to find a moment, and there he did. He got it. Now he's back in white. Oh, here we've got a down from the claw. A very good flinch. He's going for the head. Good damage. Here comes the true charge. Is he going to hold it? He's going to stick it. Is it going to go? It will not, because the tremor from the paw reached all the way out. That is like the maximum range on that tremor. That is so unfortunate. He wasn't going to hit a weak spot with that because of the positioning, but he still could have hit something and got some damage in. And some damage, always better than no damage. Oh, here comes a good one. Oh, put that hit under the head. Oh. Again, just on the absolute edge of a hitbox at the exact wrong moment. Oh, is Xeno going to lock himself down once more? No, he's going from the inside out, which should mean that he's fine. Yep, this is the one where Xeno actually learns. That's what I mean when I'm talking about the cool parts of Xeno fights and why I love that attack so much. The first time he does it from the outside in, which means that the inside of the area gets the most heated, which is why he sinks in. The second time that he does it, like he did right there, he does it inside out, so the beam goes further away as it goes, which means the area he's under is cooling down the soonest, and the area in front of him is what's getting the hottest. So what it is it's active learning from the monster during the fight as well. Here we have a nice claw break as well, excellent, leading into this true charge. missing the face just barely, just a little bit off, but it was a valiant attempt as well. Oh, that was a really solid tenderize on the tail. The tail of Xeno'jiiva is a great greatsword tenderization spot. Greatsword gets more hits, the bigger the part is because it does damage the whole way down, like this, as you can see here. But because when Xeno's flying, he's got the longer tail angle that you can go down along, you do a lot more damage, which caused the flinch and got him out of the air. A really good way to use greatsword tech. But once again, I don't think he knows that it's happening, but a cool thing that I want to point out for anyone who might not realize it.
Yes.
Oh, we've got the free clutch claw pose on Xeno'jiiva. Still so weird that they made literally every monster get those. I feel like it wasn't necessary. And on something like Xeno'jiiva, it just looks sort of silly. Here we go again. You'll see this tail that I'm talking about here. This is a really good slice. A lot of good hits. His sharpness, however, because he's doing that, the other thing about that attack is it eats sharpness like an absolute motherfucker, especially for greatsword, where normally you're hitting like a few attacks per minute. That eats so many hits of sharpness that it sort of changes the way you have to think about how much sharpness you need on a greatsword in the game, but it's still really worth using in the right situations. And there it is, there's the kill, and look at his face! That's what I'm saying. That's a big reason why I like watching these things, watching new players. It's like it's just like, oh my god, it's dead. I did that. You know, like that's what that face is to me.
Oh my god, I killed him.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
Fucking got it, boys.
And that's Xeno'jiiva. As the final cutscene goes and the credits begin to roll, Asmongold starts to give his thoughts on the base game as a whole now that he has finished the story itself, and to try and sum it up in a somewhat succinct manner. He's really enjoying himself. Every bit of gameplay that he saw before trying it himself, he thought looked too clunky and too janky and didn't seem like it would feel good to him, at least in his opinion, but then he actually tried it. He's played it, and now that he understands it, he no longer thinks it's clunky at all, really. And that's essentially the new player in Monster Hunter Timeline, because it just has a lot of mechanics, and even the base movement and combat ideals work sort of differently than most other games with similar kinds of combat. So at first, it just feels a bit off. It feels a bit weird, a bit unusual to what you might be used to. But once you understand how it works, it all just makes sense and feels really good. The one real complaint he still seems to have is the UI, of course, but we talked about that one before already. Moving on then, we'll go over one more hunt today, specifically the most recent one that Asmongold has done, which is of course now breached into Iceborne, and he's up to the first of the returning trio of pseudo-wyverns, Barioth. So let's get down to business.
Oh shit.
Oh, I do love this cutscene. And here we go. As I said, he's started Iceborne. He's done some of the post-game DLC for Monster Hunter World. He has fought a Devil Joe quite extensively. He has fought Basilgeese a little bit. He didn't kill it. That's not post-game DLC, but it's an optional fight, sort of. He's killed low-rank Kirins on stream as well. He did the Kulu quest of the Final Fantasy crossover, but didn't do the Behemoth. I think he will. He has the intention to go back to that at a later time, which is cool. But for now, he just wants to get into Iceborne and start experiencing the proper new creatures and experience what is, well, for all intents and purposes, the meat of the game at this stage, because that is what Iceborne is now.
We gotta get the loot. Jesus, it's a lot of damage.
I mean, I'll be real with you, it could be a lot more damage. You've clearly got some health boost still, but ooh, you are getting railed, boy. You're in danger. He's got ice debuff, he's placed the health booster, but he needs to drink a mega potion as well, because that is not going to do it on its own. Potion gets interrupted because he has to roll. That's one thing that it took him a while to understand, is the fact that once you start drinking a potion, you cannot cancel the animation unless you want to also stop healing from the point that you're at. The potions are essentially a heal over time animation that you can walk around during, and you can cancel, and if you cancel it, you cancel part of the heal. But right there, he had to do it purposefully to dodge the attack. He's actually getting some really good dodges in here too. That one, I don't know if he knows that it has iframes if you climb up a ledge. If you climb up a ledge at the perfect time, it has some iframes, and he just used those to avoid an attack, and I'm pretty sure entirely coincidentally, which has now resulted in a mount. As you can see, he is also using the Bombaro Great Sword. He liked Bombaro. Who doesn't like Bombaro? Bombaro is amazing, and Bombaro Great Sword is a pretty good one for early Iceborne. Though it is, honestly, I'm pretty sure it's a bit of a downgrade over Rocket Powered Great Sword, but he wanted to use what was in the expansion to do the expansion, because again, Rocket Powered Great Sword is an endgame base world weapon, essentially. Oh, the big slam. Oh, but it was on the cat. Oh, that would have been nasty if it hit him. Little hip check. He gets the edge of the tail there. That's actually a beautiful hit. One thing that I again love about Monster Hunter, the way the monsters move, every attack reverberates through their whole body. They don't just move their attacking part, they move the whole thing. So right here, what he hits is the end of the tail swinging back during the hip check, which is so cool with just the way that the hitboxes work in this game. That was an iframe dodge. That was perfect.
Actually, the speed of the attack actually makes it easier to dodge.
Yeah, that's actually a thing about Barioth that we'll talk about later, I'm sure, because he's been doing a lot of good dodges, and there's a good reason, I think, for that. Oh, the ground's falling. This is one of the coolest things that happens in Iceborne. Oh, but he doesn't know about it, so he's just confused. Look at his face. Look at him. He looks like a little lost puppy dog. So for anyone who doesn't know, anyone who may be a newer player, maybe not broached Iceborne yet, what those platforms do is... Yeah, you fell the fuck off because the ground actually fell out from under you. What those platforms are is once they've taken enough hits, either from monsters or from barrel bombs, you can do it manually, they will literally fall out. If there is a monster there that can't fly, it really sort of messes them up. They have to climb their way up, which lets you get free hits as long as you're not on the platform yourself. But if it starts rumbling and you're on it, you need to get off of it or else it will fall into the ocean with you on it, which just deposits you in the caves under the map, pretty much. So essentially, he just triggered an environmental effect accidentally, and then accidentally took it to the face. Oh, he misses the tail, but Barioth still hasn't noticed him. Here comes the true charge with the hip check, and it gets him with the tail spine. Oh, he was right under that. The slightest amount. That one, oh god, it's falling again. He's not quite on it though. Okay. If he was on the falling platform and fell again, that would have been absolutely hilarious. But thankfully, we're now, I believe, out of falling platforms. There might be one left. I can't see his mini-map. That would be the clear teller, but I believe all three have now fallen, so there's a very little chance of that happening again. Here the monster is fatigued. That happens oftentimes when a monster finishes being enraged. They tend to be pretty tied to each other. But essentially the enrage is I'm going to move a lot faster. I've got a lot of adrenaline in my system. And the fatigue is that adrenaline is starting to wear off. I need to move slower. I'm going to take breaks and just sort of breathe for a moment. And it creates a lot of openings. So a lot of the time the way that you want to play Monster Hunter once you learn about these systems is you essentially want to play around this cycle. When the monster is enraged, it's really dangerous. So you want to do your best to avoid being hit. That's what your goal is when it's enraged. When the monster is fatigued, you want to go full damage mode because it's basically not a threat anymore. It won't do any of its larger attacks when it's fatigued. A lot of elemental monsters like a Rathalos or an Anjanath, they can't do any of their fire attacks, for example, when they're fatigued. So that means it's a lot safer to be anywhere around them, especially around the head, which it is not safe to be around with those monsters normally. That said, it just creates this nice little cycle that you're supposed to follow, where a lot of players don't really understand it at first, and they think you're supposed to go the exact same speed all the time. Hit the speed limit, stay at the speed limit the entire hunt. But the reality is, because of fatigue state and also enraged state, you sort of want to ride these waves, unless you're a speedrunner just going for the absolute fastest time physically possible. Oh, the big slam. Oh my god, that missed him by an inch. Another big slam, but it's on the cat again. His cat is tanking some of the biggest attacks. Barioth's done that big slam like 3 times, and 2 out of 3 have targeted McConnell and not Asmon. Honestly, the biggest thing that you need right now is to just stop being in this corridor, because this corridor is not helping you in the slightest. Ooh, that was a nice second level charge. Oh! Yeah, this corridor is going to kill him. If he keeps fighting in this corridor, he just will die.
I'm going to get out of this area. This area is really messing me up.
There you go. That's exactly what you need. You want to fight in bigger areas. The reason so much of the actual maps in Monster Hunter games are large open circles is because fighting monsters this close to walls and just ends of hitboxes in every direction. Oh, I mentioned it earlier in the Xeno fight. This is the death, that's the death pose, except this cat flinched Barioth. If Barioth hadn't been flinched there, that probably would have been a direct kill. He's still struggling to heal, though. He is still in danger. That's not targeting him. It's targeting McConnell. Again, 3 out of 4 times that Barioth in his strongest attack, it has targeted his cat instead of him. And in that one, it directly saves his life because he was getting hit by that. I'm almost certain by the way he was moving, the way he was trying to heal, but also his health was low enough that that was probably going to kill him. Oh, a solid true charge gets the wing arm with that. That's really nice, especially on an opening attack on a monster that wasn't quite aware of him. That's the big attack, but I think that one did go for Asmongold, but he rolled behind the initial targeted location. So we will count that one to him. Oh, we're in Barioth's favorite zone. In this one specific zone, well, also his nest, there are two zones where he does it really. He will jump on the walls and just sort of make use of the terrain as part of his attacks, which is really cool. Good tail hit. I don't even, he sniped a freaking claw out of this guy there. Look at this. Look at this shit. So when you break Barioth's little wing arm tips, the little claws themselves, it actually will get a flinch. And right there, that's incredible, that timing on that. Okay, so it gets a flinch, gets a full knockdown when you break his wing arms. Right there, he got the wing arm break mid-air during a swipe that was probably going to wind up hitting him. And it lets him get the full true charge on a gray number, yes, but he still got it. That's still damage. It's obviously not ideal, but damage is damage at the end of the day. That, however, misses, and was very close to hitting the head on the way past. You can see Barioth's now starting to having struggles with his little agile motions. That's because one of his wing arms is broken. The other thing that happens when you break the wing arms on one of these pseudo-wyverns, like Nargacuga or Tigrex, for example, is the other two within Iceborne, is that they start to have trouble with their agile motions, because a lot of their the particular motions, like Tigrex turning mid-charge, Nargacuga doing his sort of pounces, they have to use their claws as sort of brakes. And essentially, by breaking those, you turn off their brakes. Like, imagine a car without the brakes. When they try and do their larger charges, their actual momentum carries them further than they mean, and they will slip, they'll fall over. It creates more openings for you to attack, and so it's a really good way to hunt those specific monsters. Here comes the big attack again, right on his face. He's super low, and he's in the real danger position. Barioth does give you a moment. Again, the cat gets a flinch, giving him a moment, but the tail interrupts the heal immediately, so he gets nothing from that heal, essentially. Barely avoids getting hit by that landing hit twice in a row. Now he's got his health booster back up. He's in a safe position again, but that was so close a couple of times in a row there. Big attack again. Gets him right in the face. That one did a bit less damage.
It's okay.
Bit greedy there.
Playing kind of aggressive because I know I'm stunned. Oh, it's kind of bad.
So what he was going to say there, I believe, is that he's playing extra aggressive because he knows he has the space to. He's not died yet, and so he can be more aggressive, and that is something to keep in mind in Monster Hunter. Generally, you have a lot more patience when you've died once or twice than you do when you're first going at it, because you have that feeling like you're invincible. You haven't been proven otherwise yet. Here he gets a lovely clutch claw just as the monster's leaving the zone, which gets him a bit of extra damage, or at least it would have if he'd been able to do it before that. Oh, it's Fulgur. Hello. And now, of course, they have to yell about this territory and argue over who actually owns this cave, so Asmon gets a couple of free hits off because of it. Oh, here comes a good turf war. He's not going to watch it, though, because he just wants to hit the tail.
Oh. Let me get the tail real... No. Guys, so chill. There, okay. Are we good or not?
Oh... I do remember that time of when you first experienced turf wars in this game. It's just sort of like a wrecking ball that you need to avoid more than anything. Like, it's hard to even watch them properly. Ooh. This could be a good wake-up hit here. I saw him before doing this hunt. I saw that he watched somebody give him some tips on how to do some actual wake-up hits with Greatsword. He learned the roll trick. I don't know if he's actually done it in game yet. We're about to see if he works it out, but so far I've not seen him take advantage of it up to this point. He's running out of time, though. He is spending all of his time on management, which is fair, but he's also not getting the wake-up hit. Here he's asking if he goes in the box, what he means is he capturable? And he just goes for the hit here. He does not go for the full true charge, which is a bit of a shame, because I know I saw him watch a video about the tech on it earlier and how to do it specifically, and I would have liked to see him actually use it there.
Oops. I did it again. He got me again.
Yeah, that attack is pretty consistently getting him when it targets him. Again, though, Barioth gets flinched by the cat right after it happens. Every time that has happened to him, McConnell has saved him just a little bit. Not necessarily saved him every time, but he has saved him from getting hit a second time. And not necessarily saved him from death, but has always saved that second hit by flinching him right as he finishes sort of bragging that he hit him.
Just gonna move away for a second.
Yep, good choice. there goes the tail.
I did it!
Real big tail, real nice. Look how happy he is that he cut that tail off. That's Monster Hunter. That's what you like to see. Oh my god, he broke the fangs with the tenderize, so he not only weakened the face, but in that same moment got himself a knockdown to get a full proper true charge on that weakened face, perfectly charged, 810 damage. That is the highest number I've seen him hit so far with his greatsword. That's lovely to see. It is close to capture time if he wants to capture. He's been very much on the capture train. I think there's this weird thing that people seem to think as a larger community that capturing gets you more rewards. That's technically not true. Capturing gets you different rewards. There are different rewards that you can get for capturing than there are for slaying. You have different percentages on those rewards, but while you do get more quest rewards at the end of capturing a monster, you don't get the cards, and that's supposed to even out. So what changes is the percentages of different rewards, not necessarily the amount of them. That being said, gems of particularly rare crafting materials normally have higher chance from capture specifically, so that's a good reason to do it in the first place.
What are you doing?
He's fatigued. He can't shoot ice out of his mouth. That's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. He wants to do ice attacks, but he's fatigued. So he's trying to shoot out the ice, and he's just not getting anything out. It is so little sad, but it gives you a lot of openings and a lot of free space to be by the head.
Get down.
Tail attack? Ooh, doesn't recognize the animation yet. Oh, is he trappable? I don't think he's quite there yet. No.
Oh, he's not ready.
He's not ready. Oh, back to the fight and almost immediately gets hit by that. He is really low health. Again, McConnell with the flinch, really helping him out here. He needs this heal. The cat also getting the heal, so he's now full health. He wouldn't have even been full health with that Mega Potion alone, so that is what caused that. He gets hit by the Ice Tornado, though, but that doesn't do a whole lot of damage to him. He doesn't seem to like the Ice Tornadoes. Fair enough. Another mount, that's always nice. Mounts are just free damage as long as you get them. Mount down, got the mount successfully, and here comes the true charge to follow it up. Full head hit, decent damage, does the job. Here comes a roar. And here I think he's gonna limp off. No, he's not quite yet. I figured that would be just the right amount of damage to push him over the threshold. He might be within the threshold, but he's not quite ready to go to sleep yet. So we'll see how this goes, but I think he's very close to actually getting him to leave. Yep, there it is. There it is right there, the limp. About 20 seconds after I called it, but you get the idea. Let him go to sleep, get that trap on him, get that captured. That's what you want.
Looks like somebody's about to go in the box.
It sort of concerns me that he says it like I feel like he just means they're going in like the item box or something like that, but it sort of feels like Pokemon to me, and it feels really it's like just catching Pokemon with the intention of putting them in the box instead of having them be your companions. It just feels mean. But there he goes. He gets the capture. All good. Quest done. Honestly, really good. He did not faint once, though he came close a number of times. His cat, McConnell, has been just doing some frickin' work. Like, the cat AI I find is extremely variable in this game. Sometimes the cats will save you from every stun you're in. They will heal you at the perfect time, every time. They will just do everything you need them to do right when you want them to do. And sometimes they are the absolute most worthless companion possible, at least as far as actual effectiveness. So the fact that his cat has been pretty consistently on it with assisting him is pretty crazy to see. After finishing the hunt, he also mentioned that he really liked hunting Barioth because he felt like the boss was actually fast enough that he could iframe through it with the small amount of iframes and the dodges in this game. And while I think that wording might not represent it actually quite perfectly, it does line up a lot with my opinions on Barioth, which is more specifically that his telegraphing is incredibly well done in this game. Every one of his attacks has a very clear, this is where the damage comes from animation, and most of them have just the slightest pause before it hits. It's a very accurate animation and hitbox that goes really quickly, and you can see when it's about to touch you. And that pause right before it goes off is your dodge now for iframes notification. Whether you are conscious of that or not, that is the main reason that Barioth can be easier to get iframes on than most other monsters, and a reason I quite enjoy the fight personally. And that just about does it for today then, everyone. I just wanted to talk about the somewhat strange discourse I'd seen in the community about this happening, my thoughts on both sides, and how at the end of the day, the amount any of this matters is extremely subjective, but it is undeniable that it does matter at least a little bit. Aside from that, on a personal level, I just love watching new people play, and I love analyzing hunts, even outside spite of whether they're new players or not. I love looking into the deeper sides of the games, talking about the feeling of certain moments, the hidden treasures of a hunt really, and so of course I wanted to do a bit more of that here too. I hope you've all enjoyed this then. Clearly Asmongold is pretty committed now, getting a decent chunk started out of Iceborne, so I think it's fair to say that we're 100% seeing the Iceborne story completed by him. Past that, who knows, maybe he'll even make it to Elatrion or Fatalis, but only time will tell. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweets.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.